Where does it make more sense to use livestock? Relevant approaches and considerations. Location and implementation. Example, deserts or desert-like regions. Such considerations are not futile in all desert regions. Modern technologies, keyword, solar power in combination with large-scale sun shading equipment would, in principle, be possible to implement now. With minimal capital, the maximum return could be made. Such investments would be sustainable, particularly when you consider the various side benefits such as reforestation, revegetation, increased diversity, and, last but not least, additional habitats. There are still undernourished zones, that is, unused regions with not much life. Reforestation could take place in a cyclical manner if livestock were moved from one zone to another in a way that corresponds to appropriate annual plans. A piece of the puzzle in the debate about water quality. Sustainable forestry projects should be boldly driven forward, not least in densely populated areas such as cities and metropolitan areas. This can be achieved by a willingness on the part of the consumer to make a change and, for example, say goodbye to mad cow disease by instead consuming mutton or goat meat sparingly. As a result, more value would be placed on plant-based alternatives. The water quality in cities will recover following extensive reforestation in rural regions. This would improve quality of life and well-being and help people be healthier and live longer. From an emerging economy to a high-tech energy provider. Industrialization in emerging economies is not a desirable objective per se. First and foremost, emerging economies should be integrated directly into knowledge and information societies with sustainable industry. First and foremost, emerging economies should be integrated directly into knowledge and information societies with sustainable industry. The longer solar and wind energies are fought, the more spurious and surreal the arguments used become. Governments are leaving the private sector out in the cold and primarily serving national banks and big capitalists. Placing obstacles in the way of startups prevents them from getting started, quickly makes resourceful entrepreneurs dependent, and destroys innovative projects. This is called state economy. The main thing for those who subscribe to this kind of economy is that there is no innovation. Many insurance holders, illnesses, and a foundering, erratic society. Admittedly, a lack of knowledge, such as knowledge of different regions, can also hinder progress, but these challenges can usually be overcome sooner or later. Does a healthy national economy have something to do with slowing down? Universal basic income is considered impossible, as the state pension funds could be virtually relocated to China. American market penetration cannot be stopped if the merits of sugar products, burgers, pigtails, and new tenderloin dishes with a lot of salsa sauce continue to be touted. If sales outlets at train stations primarily sell Mars bars and chips, then medical staff in particular will have a lot of work to do for an extended period to come. We have been sullying any form of progress in this way for decades. The main concern for those who support this system is that it appeals to the majority, and obesity remains over 70%. Urban farming is an additional link in the chain. Indoor gardening or even farming is relatively easy to carry out in cities and metropolitan areas. Up until this point, there has not been a lack of electricity, but a lack of will, and, not least, a lack of a labour market that, even in the so-called free world, could not be more of a paradox. Private sector initiatives are often unsuccessful, as basic laws, tradition, and sometimes faith stand in the way. Looking at certain primary conditions, you could at times even assume that work is unwanted. Stimuli have seldom managed to facilitate sensible projects. Having more market participants would presuppose more responsible figures. Is this wishful thinking or the foundation of a participative economy and society?